In the Commonwealth for the first time, beyond the Virginia Zoo's gorgeous entrance and plaza is... In 2011, the Trail of the Tiger doubled the zoo's amount of large residents, bringing in 30 new animals to Norfolk. The trail winds around over 3.5 acres, using its vast array of wildlife and architecture to represent 8 countries of Central and Southeast Asia. Not only will we see creatures that are considered rare and endangered, but animals I thought we'd never see on these zoo tours. Past the Balinese pagodas we go. The trail wastes no time taking us to the first stop, which are Bornean Orangutans. Living in a well-manicured but sizable lawn, highlighted with climbing posts that can get the man of the forest 45 feet in the air. But of course, I saw them doing what orangutans do best in zoos anyways. Towards the left, a very lush island created and filled by one of the trail's many waterfalls. You'll see swinging Siamangs, the largest of the gibbons and one of the loudest animals in the world. At 100 decibels, you will hear them at some point from any point on your zoo visit here. Next, down in the corner, what was first home to bearcats is now a spot for one of the most unusual animals we'll see so far, the Malayan Sun Bear. Elusive, mostly nocturnal, the smallest and the only true tropical bear. Comparative to their cousins, the sun bear is known for their short fur, its 10-inch tongue that's used to extract its food from tight crevices, and its stocky, slightly awkward proportions have led to its local name, the dog bear. But if you ask me, I'd say it kind of looks like a human crawling on all fours. If you want to see this extraordinary animal, I'd say hurry up because Palu and other sun bears are disappearing from US zoos. Behind us is an enclosed passageway with a row of 4 aviaries for breeding birds. I was able to spot fairy bluebirds, Luzon bleeding hearts, the Victoria crown pigeon, the Australian native owl mistaken, tawny frogmouth, and a few more that you can read below. On the other side of the hallway, you're given a look at the gibbons' indoor quarters, and if you're lucky, you'll catch the neighbors peeking in. And at the very end of the aisle, where those neighbors stay in, and you're always guaranteed to see more orangutans because the zoo rotates the pairs daily. And now the boardwalk portion. Over here and below in this forest are rarest cranes, the largest cranes in the world that were added to the trails a few years after its opening. And over here on the opposite side, the red panda, the first major example of how the zoo incorporated natural elements. These expert climbers do have access to this tree that branches out over the guest path, which apparently was once used to the panda's advantage because 3 years ago, Sunny, a female, escaped from her enclosure, and unlike the situation in Columbus, she was never found. So yes, technically a red panda could survive the streets of Hampton, and residents have actually reported at least 3 sightings, making Sunny the city's own cuddly version of Bigfoot. Going just a little further down is a long, narrow aviary where you can get really close to Una and Ryobi, the rhinoceros hornbills, named after their golden yellow horn called a casque, a hollow structure that's used not only to impress, but to amplify their calls. The last on the boardwalk is my personal favorite spot. Yes, you're looking at an actual habitat. A bearcat who didn't want to show their face has access to all of this. One of the best examples of any zoo building around nature. And because it's so lush, I'll let you find the animal for yourself. Back onto the forest floor. Tucked in the shadows are 2 pens for southern cassowaries, a massive dinosaur-like bird. Though the zoo has 2, they are kept separate because the cassowary is actually solitary beyond the mating season. Across from them, living in one of the more fundamental homes, another very special animal, the Asian black bear. Also known as the moon bear thanks to the crescent shape on their chest. Much like the panda, they are very herbivorous, feeding on nuts, fruit, and even bamboo. Once ranging across Western Europe, you can still find them along the foothills of the Middle East, the Himalayas of India, to the deciduous forests of Japan. They're very similar to their North American counterparts, so what makes the Asian black bear so special? For starters, they are listed as vulnerable, hunted mainly for their gallbladders for medicine and even cuisines. Another reason why you should be excited if you ever see one of these. In terms of zoos, to say that the Asian black bear is rare is an understatement. Virginia has 2 of around 10 or 11 total that are left in the US, and are another bear that's being phased out of the AZA. And now another animal that's always worth traveling to see, the Malayan tapir. The largest of the tapirs and the only one of Asia. These pig-like creatures have enlarged nostrils that are positioned at the very front of their face, making it easier to breathe and wallow in water. Malayans have a striking, distinguished two-tone coat, which helps them break up its body outline and make it virtually invisible in shady forests. It's enough for zoos to be able to brag when they display them, but they especially get to when they breed them. This is Luther, born in January of 2020 to Hattie. All adult tapirs have different coats, but they are all born with stripes and spots, camouflage that mimics the sunspots that leak from the canopy onto the forest floor. But they lose this coat after about 6 months. As an endangered species in terms of breeding, they need all the help they can get, as only around 2,500 of these tapirs remain. Their territory in Virginia is not only the largest on the trail, but it's also the longest, and I mean really long. And though it isn't the most natural looking, the zoo has an ivied fence up front to give them some form of privacy, something that all forest creatures must have. Further down the path near the exit, a full-length, split-level underwater view where hopefully you'll see swimming Asian small-clawed otters that could never ever disappoint a crowd. But Merrill and Sawyer don't just have to entertain you, but there's also the white-cheeked gibbons, male Dexter and female Asia, who's almost 46 years young, making her the second oldest animal at the zoo. And finally, the last animals, Malayan tiger brothers that can be seen from several angles, including the underwater site, outside of the trails, and by the orangutans. Tigers being the finale to this tiger trail. Well, actually, this way out here, another fantastic and even better haven for a red panda. Truly closes out our first tour at the Virginia Zoo. And stay tuned for our next adventure into the Okavango Delta. And thank you for watching.